blocked over there. I'll check in a bit. So this is again we saw yesterday. There's a list of commands. There are many. They are as broad as they can be. So in some cases they require a lot of input and a lot of knowledge of what you're doing. It can be changed in the sense that if you want even more user-friendly, we can break them down, which makes it easier to use, but a long list. So it's a trade-off that we can discuss with Hongyan as well. How much user-friendly you want and with a big list, or you want it simpler and easier to access, assuming that the operator has its own knowledge. Then we have telemetry, which was empty yesterday, and today there's a lot of stuff here. So all the data that is displayed in these plots is listed here. Everything we got from the satellite. So you see here, this is item from the beacon, from the antenna system, and this is the name of the parameter. You'll have to check with the satellite segment guys what does it mean. The current value is 0. As you see, there's 494 pages. There's a lot of parameters that come down, and some are a bit more interesting than these random numbers. I'm just scrolling to get other standard. For instance, for the EPS, we have here the beacon from the EPS. EPS is Google covered, means is for the power system. In this case, the parameter is the root cause, and it says 0. There's also a root counter, which is 11. Here it says what time it got into the system in UTC. So 7:47 this morning. And you see it's updating. Sometimes the numbers change. Now it's 7:47:45, and they change. As an operator of Major Tom, you can here identify units, which in this case doesn't make much sense because it's a counter. But you can also add a description. Root, counter, for EBS. So this will stay. It will help you understand what it means. It will also be visualized for the other users. So this is just a list. It's not easy to process, but therefore we have Grafana where we can play with the data we get. Then we have the tracking, which is another big picture of where the satellite is right now in the world. We have uplink. So we're going to be able to upload files to Major Tom and send to the satellite. So I've been trying this with the Dutch flag. You can try to get the Thai flag or any file, any picture you find, or file, doesn't have to be a picture. Any file you find you have on your laptop, you can upload to Major Tom, and then from here we can send it. On the downlink, this is a list of files in the satellite, which we can refresh here, and you will be able to see what's in the satellite, and therefore we can download it. We'll practice all of it. And again, the settings is something not to worry about because it's again the documentation to do the backend, which we have done, so nothing to worry about. So if we start in the commands, there are a lot of commands. We're talking about commands mostly to the platform. Some are very recurrent, we'll do every day, or you'll do every day. Some you probably won't touch. For instance, for the antennas, which is the first one we talked yesterday. These arm antennas, so the antennas before being deployed, they need to be armed, and then they get to deploy. Once they're deployed, once we know they're deployed, we can disarm them. So this is done during layoffs and commissioning. It's probably a parameter you never use. Eventually, if you like, we can take it out of the list. But since there was always a chance, for now we keep it. So for instance, for deploy one, what we do, the satellite when it goes after deployment, after getting out of the main rocket, it has an automatic sequence to deploy its antennas. When we contact the satellite, it might happen that one of the antennas did not deploy. So what we do during layoffs, and as Hugo is going to explain, we're going to make sure that the antennas are all out. So we're going to eventually have to ask the satellite to deploy another antenna because it didn't work the first time. So this is the command we use. We specify from which antenna system we want. it's uplink or downlink. All these options might not apply to the RTF satellite. I really don't know the configuration. Which sides of the antenna, which antenna element. So antennas have many elements. You see here, this is an enumeration, and you also display here the range you can choose. There's an override switch, which you can use or ignore. The numbers before, as the operators, you can ignore it, just to match in the software. And how much time you want to give it to deploy. So there's a maximum of 30 seconds where you can keep instructing the antenna powering the lines to keep a deployment, or you can just say try for 10 seconds and it doesn't work, it just doesn't work. So these are, this is one of the options to deploy one specific antenna. There's also an out deploy for all of the antennas in a specific system, so you don't need to say which element. You see this command is slightly smaller than the other one. You just specify the system, in which side it comes, and then how much time you want to try that deployment. During normal operations, you won't have to worry about this because the antennas are out and all is done. So,
you will deploy for us, right?
Yes, we will deploy for you. Then we have a sequence of ADCS commands. Do you remember what ADCS stands for? ADCS is the attitude and control system, attitude determination and control system. So it's what the satellite is, the system of the satellite that can detect how fast it is speeding, where it is pointing, where its antenna is pointing. It can also check where the sun is to find it out. So it's the control of the attitude of the satellite. There are several options here. The first one, which is probably the most critical one, is the boot firmware. This is rarely done, only if you need a firmware update, which we'll probably do during LEOP or commissioning. But once the satellite is stable, once the software is good, you won't use these commands. Clear error flags. This is something we are currently using a lot. So when the ADCS, while ADCS is running its algorithms, it sometimes displays some error flags, which as an operator you get to see them on your page. And once you analyze them or you read them, you see, okay, this happened 2 hours ago, now everything is fine, I can clear these flags. I can clear these warnings. So there's no parameters here, you just send to execute. There's also an option to get more information from the ADCS. And that information is 2 blocks of ADCS configuration. ADCS configuration means all the gains, so for those of you who are familiar with algorithms and control systems, there are a lot of gains in configuration required, like the inertia of the satellite and the speed of the maximum speed of the wheels and things like that. They come in a huge block, which is divided here in 2, which you can request from the satellite. We will also use this heavily during LEOPs and commissioning. In a normal operation, this also won't be needed. You can also ask the satellite which TLEs it is using. Again, also picking from what you mentioned yesterday, the satellite uses a GPS. It can get its own TLEs, so you can ask the satellite, okay, which TLEs are you using? Just to be sure that everything is fine. We get here high resolution data. So as I mentioned, the satellite has a main source of information, which we call WAD. Let me check it here. I got myself on the parade on the marker. WAD. WAD stands for whole orbit data. So as a satellite, let's say this is our ground station. And there's a satellite around the world, which probably something like this, I don't know. Maybe it's more like a rectangle. When we get beacons, and then those signals we saw yesterday, it's instantaneous information from now. So how the satellite is right now, and then it keeps coming, and how the satellite is right now, and now the satellite is right now. But what if you want to know what happened to the satellite during all the time around the world? That's the whole orbit data. It keeps recording through time, many parameters. Obviously, because the satellite is small, it's not infinite, so it lasts usually 2 weeks. So you can get data from past events for 2 weeks. In the case of ADCS, so I'll put here the IDCS, which is attitude determination and control. In case of DDCS, because it's such a critical system, I mean, you really want the satellite pointing to the ground and not pointing to with antennas pointing to the sun, or the camera pointing to Saturn. There's really not a point here. So because it's such a critical system, besides having this data, it has a higher resolution one. So it has more sampling. This data, I believe, is once per second, I'm not really sure. The data for DCS, high resolution data for DCS, is faster. I really don't know how much, but it gets you a lot of data. So this part of data, the high resolution, is not activated all the time. Therefore, you can start it and we can stop it. So we use this during critical periods if we're trying something special, and we can start, we can stop it for ADCS.
For the whole orbit data is more or less like gyro rates and somehow like that.
So everything we get in the beacon, but over the time it gets recorded. It's like, yeah.
What about the TLE that you mentioned before? Is it TLE?
TLE,
You
yeah.
ask the satellite which TV that satellite use. Is it generated by GS and then uplink to the satellite, or satellite generated by itself?
That's true, good point. We can send it up, so it's generated from the ground, yeah. But if you want to check which one did you send, which one is using, we'll try that command today to upload those TLEs to the satellite.
But the satellite itself somehow they know the position by themselves.
Yeah, but it's always important to have multiple references in case it does something wrong with the GPS system, or it does not have all the detailed information. So there is GPS and there is the TLEs. In any case, if you're mentioning your satellite as a GPS, not all satellites need to have a GPS. So we always have this two-line element available. So that's the default way of the satellite knowing. And then if it has a GPS, it upgrades it. But we don't delete the basic option. We have two options that combine together.